Blog Talk Radio. Hi everyone, this is Camille from sunny California, and you're listening to the Coffee Chat with Camille show, which is a podcast series that interviews various guests about real-life topics for people who love to learn. Sorry, I do this all the time. I forget to unmute. I just wanted to welcome you, Ryan.
Welcome
you
thank you,
to the show.
No, it's fine. Oh, thank you. Happy Saturday to you, and that's fine. It's Saturday.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to get into the interview. How did your birthplace inspire you to become a writer?
Oh gosh, that's a biggie. I was born in a very small, swampy town in southern Louisiana, a little town called Dulac, and bone on the bayou, as they say. And the first couple of years of my life, I remember it just being really exciting. My family, especially my dad's side, they all lived close by. So I had, my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, we all hung out. And when they would, my older cousins, when they would babysit me and my brother, they used to love to tell us stories. And people down there in general, the French Cajun culture, they're very colorful. They love to, they love to drink. They love to laugh real loud. They love to dance. And folklore there is a big deal. And I think, that's subconsciously where I think it all started, honestly.
Wonderful. And then what authors inspire you?
Oh, gosh. The first author I think I discovered was, of course, Mr. Stephen King, being a horror writer myself. And it's very interesting how this started off. When I started writing horror, and look, I'm in the 4th, 5th grade, so my mom was not terribly pleased with the content, but I think she didn't indulge it, but she definitely recognized it, and she would buy me, older classic books. And I remember the first one was, of course, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I think there is when I realized how powerful the written word could be. And at that time, I was watching a lot of horror films. Again, I come from a very colorful family. If the adults are in the room with it, you can watch anything, which was good for me. And, of course, it was all, horror films and things like that. And watching a lot of Stephen King's movies, that's how I gradually, realized, like, wow, he's written all these books, and I'm 10 years old thinking all this. And the first book I bought by him was Pet Sematary, and my mom was absolutely horrified that my aunt let me buy this. So, and then it went from him to Anne Rice. So that's how that started.
Wonderful. And then why is the interest in horror, and when did you start? I think you just covered that a little bit.
Yeah. It's, it was a process, Camille. It's my first movie that I can remember watching was Creepshow, which, of course, is of Stephen King, based off Stephen King stories. And I think it sort of built from there because, like I said, my cousins, we would watch. I watched a lot of films I think regular other kids probably shouldn't have at 3 or 4 years old, all the Friday the 13th and all, Amityville Horror. So I watched all this from the beginning, but I was never scared. It was always just interesting to watch other people be scared. And then gradually, getting into these books. And I my favorite book of all time is actually not a horror story. It's a children's book. So go figure. But it's just continuously built,
Yes, because that actually rolls right into my next question, which is what book have you reread the most and why?
Definitely The Never-Ending Story by Michel Ende.
That's a great one. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. I just recently found a German edition with all these beautiful artwork in it. It's, oh my God, it's one of my treasured possessions. And I mean, I probably don't even need to explain why this is such a great book. It's just the fantasy element, and being a kid and reading this, and it's like, wow, it's very inspirational, and it just seems to get better the more I read it.
Yes. I love the movie too. It was so wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was pretty small back then too, but at any rate, the never-ending story. So, what is the most difficult part of your artistic process, Ryan?
Oh gosh, I think for beginning writers especially, it's very hard to sell your work and to make a living. It's, you have to build up this momentum to keep going and find these opportunities where you can do this. And it took me a while to get to my first published book. I had, after graduating high school, I moved into New Orleans, which was only like an hour away from where I grew up. And I think there is when things really started to move as far as writing. And I think being in that environment really helped, because I come from a small town and there are no writers, so therefore there are no mentors, so you kind of have to do this on some people. I did in my personal journey. I had to do it alone. I read everything I could, and as far as publishing, but for us now, it changes every year. It's something new. Now we have self-publishing, so it's like, well, do I do that? So there's a lot of choices, in how to proceed this, but wanting to, sell and make it a career and make money out of it, I think that's probably the hardest part. Once you get past that hurdle, I think it's a little different.
Yes. And then if you didn't write, what would you do for work?
You're going to laugh at this one, Camille. I would love to be a homicide detective.
Oh, wow.
And I think, yeah. I love true crime, and I've always wanted that. And, I'm not frightened by, real life violence and things like that. I think I have a pretty strong stomach. I've seen, being in New Orleans is not exactly Disney World, but, I think I'd love to do that, because you're helping people, but yet I love fixing mysteries and puzzles and things like that. So I think it would probably be that, or something, paranormal investigator, something related like that. So,
Okay. Then what?
I think the universe pushed me in the right way. This guy knows what I would be like as a homicide lieutenant.
So what advice do you tell writers? Oh, sorry. What did you say? I missed that. Could you repeat? I missed what you said at the end. You said something.
Oh, nothing. I'm just laughing at myself. I'm thinking about it in my head. I'm like, oh gosh, my poor mom would be like, oh, it's one. What's the the lesser of two evils? Like, oh my gosh, Ryan. Okay, so
what advice do you tell writers just starting out?
The honest to gosh thing I can say is, have courage. Have courage. You have to be strong, because if you're going to do this, it's one of the hardest professions to break into. But if you really want it, do it. And I think courage, because you're going to be disappointed over and over and over and rejected over and over and over. But if you believe in your work, and someone else eventually will. And I think the other thing would be momentum. Don't stop, because I kind of regret stopping in my 20s when I got to New Orleans. Most of my 20s, I was kind of working full time, and my writing kind of took a back seat, and I really regret that. I really wish I didn't. But picking it back up, because I feel like right now I'm in a sort of writing rejuvenation with my writing. And I definitely would say momentum and courage. Keep on. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Because once you do, you start thinking of other things, and then doubt comes into your head, and oh, no, you can't have any of that.
Wonderful. Thank you for that advice. And then what was an early experience where you learned that language had power?
That would definitely be the first book that I had mentioned earlier. My poor mother, she was a single mom and raising 3 kids, and so I know that it was probably hard to go to work and then sort of manage us and to see what we were doing when she was gone. Of course, we had babysitters and things like that, but luckily for me especially, I was an indoor child, so I got to my thing was to have books, and for Christmas and for my birthdays, I got books, and I loved it. It was fantastic. And in those early books, my mother doing her best to keep me away from adult horror, bought me some interesting children's books. It was, I don't think she knew exactly what she was getting into, but the first copy of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde I had, it was, I guess she thought it was harmless being a classic and all this stuff, but I couldn't believe it. It was stunningly powerful, and I loved it. And reading it and coming back to it, I'm like, wow, whatever was being written, these scenes were so clear and so concise, and the characters, it was probably the first time where I realized something leapt off the page at me. And then at that time, I also was reading a lot of short stories and classics, and I think Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days somehow just hit me really hard. I don't know why. And again, the language, it's just so beautiful, and you can see it. And, man, that's good writing, man. That's the way to do it, I mean, you have these characters and that just leap off there. I mean, gosh, it stays with you. It still stays with me.
That's wonderful. And then if you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would it be?
Oh, good question. How young are we talking? Because if we're talking 20, man, I would say, man, you better not drink as much as you do and you're living in New Orleans. Because I tell you, there were a lot of drunken nights. I tried to write. It was a no-go. But I think my younger self, I definitely would have told him to hang on, just hold on, because I always felt I'm never going to get out this small town. I'll never publish. But if I could tell my younger self, keep on, just keep on doing it. Don't worry about it. It'll eventually catch up to you. So just hold on one more day and then hang on for the next day. So, because that time flies by.
Yeah, it sure does. I agree. And then, do you try more to be original, or to deliver to readers what they want?
In the beginning, actually, that's a very good question. In the beginning, I felt I had to do what was popular at the time, and try to sort of, well, of course, when we're all starting out, we always copy our favorite writers, just to get our own rhythm going. And but I think eventually, just talking to people, especially when I got to New Orleans, being surrounded by so many original people, these artists and writers and sculptors and musicians, and it became quite obvious you do what pleases you. I started writing things, I write gruesome horror, I write dark fantasy, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this because this is what I enjoy, So it started off kind of, where you just kind of learning how to feel it out. But I think, the older I get, the more ideas I have that are just, it's not popular. Who cares? It's something I wanted to do, and share. And, I had a friend of mine when I was younger, and I was I wanted to work in film and things like that. And he was an accountant on this film set I was working on. And he said, you can make a book about pies, and I guarantee you somebody will buy it, and he said, I thought that was the greatest advice, because, he's basically, write what you feel you want to write. Out there, you'll reach someone. And I love that. That's it's exactly right.
Yes, it is. And then, what is your favorite coffee or hot beverage?
Oh, gosh. Down here in the New Orleans area, we have our own brand of coffee, which if you ever been to New Orleans, or you definitely would have heard of it. It's community coffee. I love to. I grew up on it. It's around us. It's I guess a form of pride, but I love the medium chicory. It just yeah, it's that really hard root and it's so hard to find in other places. But I definitely wake up with that one hit of that chicory coffee, and usually when I write though, blueberry tea all the way. I don't know what it is. There's something stimulating about it, but yeah. Yes. Oh man, it's blueberry tea. Oh yeah. I'm definitely a coffee and tea person. I know people are either one or the other. So
yes. Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Ryan. It has been a pleasure to meet you and to have you on the show.
Thank you, Camille.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'd love to have you co-host one of these days when you have free time on my show.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know. I just really liked your profile. I like everything about you. But I was like, I wonder if you want to co-host sometime. So I'm saying it on the air if you ever want to. You're more than welcome. If not, you're still welcome to come back anytime. And last but not least, can you please just let our audience know how they can reach you through your social media handles?
Absolutely. I do have a Facebook fan page. I'm working on getting my website. I had a website for a little while, but then stopping writing, and then it all just kind of, snowballed away. But I'm working back again. Like I said, I'm under my writing rejuvenation. So right now, you definitely can keep up with everything that's going on my Facebook fan page, which is, of course, you type in Ryan Winter fan page, and there it is.
Okay, wonderful. So there you have it, everyone. This is Ryan Winter. Thank you so much, Ryan, again, and have a lovely weekend and rest of the year.
You
Bye
bet,
for now.
You bet. Thank you, Camille. Happy Saturday to you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, everyone. That was the magnificent Ryan Winter. I'm going to go ahead and read his brief bio just one more time because sometimes I accidentally still have the mute button on. I'm just talking so in my way and look down and I'm like, oh my God, no one can hear me. So, drawing from the writer's experience with author Ryan Winters, he is a Southern storyteller, an author, and entertainer. Our questions were pretty organic, but they were also just wonderful to listen to what he enjoys, what genre he enjoys, and also what inspired him to become a more or less horror writer, I think. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But Ryan Winter is a lover of macabre. Oh, I say that. I don't do well with that word. Salacious words and spicy foods. That's not good that I'm tripping over one word, right? Macabre. Sorry about that. Macabre. Okay. Yeah, I have to sometimes look up. If you, you may already know this, especially millennials and very savvy Gen X's and Gen Y, Gen X, something like that. The older ones of us. You can just go and Google, put the word pronunciation next to it, and then it comes up pretty quickly. So that's what I have to do sometime, even as an English teacher. Isn't that hilarious? Anyway, so he hails from the strange and mysterious world of South Louisiana. He's drawing inspiration from his unique surroundings. Ryan's writing he's written a well-received children's book named New Orleans Goose under the pen name Ryan Adam. It was heavily promoted around Louisiana, including multiple book signings, festivals, school presentation, and conventions. It was a recipient of the prestigious New Orleans Book Festival. Ryan has published numerous short stories, mostly horror and dark fantasy, before his first novel, Ravish, which debuted through Amazon's KDP Publishing. Okay, and then Ryan, just before he left, he mentioned his Facebook handle, which is Ryan Winter Fan Page. All right. So I hope everyone has, in the words of Ryan, a great Saturday. And I say have a great rest of the year. There's so much to get done still. We're halfway through it. We're almost halfway through. Where does the time go? But it just goes, right? At any rate, so the topic for discussion was drawing from the writer's experience with author Ryan Winters. You can find a copy of this and all the episodes on coffeechatwithcamille.com. Okay, and he was my third guest today. So I'm trying on Saturdays to bring you all some really magnificent guests, and today was the first day of that experiment, and I feel very thankful to each and all of my guests, and for you for being an avid listener. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day from Coffee Chat with Camille Show. Bye for now.